Welcome to the World Metal Congress. What an absolute pleasure it is to see you again, Lena. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, especially today that we're going to be talking to one of my favorite bands.
Absolutely. I echo your sentiments. And I've got to say, they're not just one of my favorite bands, but also some of my favorite people as well. Now, Mario and Joseph Duplantier are titans in the world of metal. But why do you think Gojira are significant beyond the music?
Well, Gojira are a band with a message, and they've been a band with a message for over a decade and a half. This is not something that, they just started recently because it's trendy. They mean it. They've been doing it for a while, and they practice what they preach. The music that they compose and the message that they disseminate, which is very much a message of awareness, commitment to the environment, to the well-being of the planet we're on, is something that they practice every single day. So I can't think of a more credible message than that sent by Gojira.
Indeed. Well, I suppose that's why Gojira connect with so many people, because it seems to come from a very real place. And as you say, they mean what they are saying. It isn't just a performative stance that they have taken. It's a very real one, and it comes from a place of experience as well. So in a moment, we're going to be joined by Joe and Mario Duplantier of Gojira. Joe and Mario, welcome to the World Metal Congress. What an absolute pleasure it is to have you here. Thank you so much for joining.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much for having us.
It's a genuine pleasure, and I can't think of a better timed conversation to be having because, I guess the world has been so deeply affected by COVID. It's possibly distracted us from other, if it's possible to even say, bigger issues than just the pandemic. Joe, I'd just like to start with you. How worried are you about the climate crisis?
People in charge of some of the most important countries in the world questioning, environmental issues and saying that we don't even know if climate change is a reality. It feels like a huge step backwards, and it's influencing the people to question things in a very unhealthy way. I think we should be able to make conclusions, to see for ourselves what's happening. For example, with the Amazon forest on fire, and the ice caps melting, and the ocean getting completely drained. And I mean, it's pretty obvious that we need to change our ways. And having commander-in-chief, saying that, oh, it's an hoax, don't worry about it, let's just go through our days and not change anything, that's what worries me the most. And the facts are here, and in Brazil, Bolsonaro is also taking a huge step, back. So there's a lot of things going on, and the COVID is obviously, taking the whole, room in the medias. But yeah, there's many other things going on right now. And this is really cool to organize this platform to talk about these things, because I think rock and metal and all these movements are about rebellion, are about civil disobedience, being able to think for ourselves, and it actually feels good to be part of a community that is thinking about topics like that through music. Unlike pop music, for example, which is more, meant to entertain people and to soothe the soul. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but what I really like about our music is it's the nature of the music is to point out some things that we can change, and being, disagreeing with the man is healthy for our societies.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, as metal musicians and us metal fans, your band is now, rightly so, I think, seen as one of the pioneers in the world for championing environmentalism, not just in terms of talking about it, but also in terms of action. But as you said, it is not something new. This has been going on in the scene for a very long time. I mean, as early as The 1980s, actually, as you know, Sacred Reich protesting environmental destruction. Testament, 1989, releasing a single called Greenhouse Effect about the rainforests in South America. And here you are, 30 years later, with Amazonia from the new album, for example, Fortitude. 30 years, the same issue, unfortunately, remaining a problem. How does it make you feel? And I mean, 30 years of trying to raise awareness through music and other things, generally speaking, how do you feel about this? And what do you think you can do differently? And what are you doing differently?
I would say it's pretty soul crushing, to be talking about the same thing after, 3-4 decades of, it's pretty depressing in a way. But then what we're doing is nothing really original, but we're trying to be part of that wave of consciousness. We live in a pretty strange world where people seem to be plugged into another reality, into the matrix, versus watching their actions and watching realities and facts around them, and maybe scan themselves to see what they can do differently. So that's what we're trying to do. And for Amazonia, for example, we have this initiative to launch an operation. We call it Operation Amazonia, to raise money and raise awareness around the problem of the Amazon forest. Quick fact about the Amazon forest. There was so much awareness around the Amazon forest, and all the music community, and a lot of artists were fighting hard to raise awareness from the early 90s, maybe mid 90s to 2005-ish. There was a great effort from the international community to raise awareness, and it sort of worked because something got a little better in the Amazon forest. Some laws were passed and stuff to protect indigenous and their lands, and because they are the one that can save the forest, really. And then, for about 10, 12 years, the rate of deforestation slowed down a little bit. Didn't mean that it was the end of it, but it was getting better. And hope was on the horizon to save the Amazon. And then something happened very strange around that time, where Trump got elected in America, Bolsonaro got elected in Brazil, and a few other crazy maniacs got elected in Eastern Europe and China and Russia. All these guys, dragging everybody down and not respecting, the collective effort to try to go the right way and stand on the right side of history. So in 2019, all the big farmers and big corporations in Brazil and around the Amazon were encouraged and pushed by the government to burn more forest and to take the lands from indigenous. So Amazonia, I remember Mario and I started to jam that song the day, there was one day where there was a lot of fires in the Amazon, and it was coming to us through the news. And we felt really heartbroken and really depressed and sad thinking about this, and felt completely powerless. All we could do that day was write a song about it and let it out. And we had that in mind, that the day we would release that song or the album, or the day it would come to life, we would also launch something to do something. We want to do something. So we're working on this project right now, an effort to bring people together. We're counting on our music community to come together and donate instruments to sell for an auction, to work with an indigenous organization called APIB. That's how they pronounce it in Portuguese. It's APIB. And it's a group, it's all the indigenous groups with their leaders, mostly women, that are getting together to try to make a difference and empower the indigenous communities to defend themselves against this tremendous pressure from the industries of cattle farming and soybean and gold mining, and they're under attack. They're being shot at. Some of the leaders are wearing bulletproof vests, and some of them are killed. A lot of them died in these last couple of years. And the Brazilian government wants to take advantage of the COVID. Everybody's hypnotized by what's happening with the COVID to pass some laws to take the lands from the indigenous. This is really, really crucial what's happening right now. So for the last 2-3 years, the deforestation gained and amplified a lot. So we're about to get vocal about it.
And not just get vocal, as you said, also act, which is very important.
But it might feel like a drop in the ocean what we're about to do, because we're hoping to raise somewhere between 100,000 and 800,000, $1 million. I don't know what we'll see what we can do. It depends on how people are going to react. But we're about to send a letter today or tomorrow to all our fellow musicians and bands to start an operation that's hopefully is going to last the entire album cycle or something like that, to show some support to the indigenous. And I say raise awareness because we had some meetings with some of the indigenous leaders with the help of some of our friends that are very active in this area, some activists from Brazil and New York and France as well. And when we talked to the indigenous communities, we were very surprised to learn that they don't get any support from anybody almost. There's a few organizations helping, but it's so vast. The problem is so complicated as well that we cannot just go with a plane and throw a bunch of seeds to reforest the Amazon. It doesn't work this way. It's very intricate and very difficult. So we understood the best way to fight deforestation was to empower all these indigenous groups. So we have to pick and choose our battles, right? There's bad things happening all over the world. But if we concentrate on one thing, and I think the Amazon forest is such a symbol, who wants to live on a planet without the Amazon forest? I think it would be so sad. It would be such a failure, from all of us as a community. So we're going to bring our contribution to that.
Indeed. A fantastic cause, of course, but also, underpinned by, I think, as Lena has said, a history of you guys pioneering, introducing this to the discourse, because, despite a few efforts, here and there and so on, your band is synonymous with awareness, and wanting to raise people's knowledge of what is happening, and just not making it someone else's problem, but our own problem. Obviously, with your work in Sea Shepherd, and Mario, I wondered if I could bring you into the conversation as well here, and so on. Where did it all begin for you? I mean, was it in your childhood that you first had this exposure to these issues and so on? Because I think that so much of what Gojira does is not just perhaps the direct action that you're talking about, but also inspiring others to do the same and to care about these issues. So where did it all begin, especially for people who might be joining and might not know all about your history?
I would say the fact we didn't grew up in Paris, for example. We were in the southwest of France, and there is this massive mountains, and the ocean is super powerful, and it's all green, and there is so many forests, So it was like the playground. We were just playing outside all day long. We were in the forest. We were going to the beach and going to the mountains during the weekend. So we didn't have this urban culture, from the big cities. And I would say that's the main thing about us. It's the fact we grew up here, because I do remember bands coming from cities. They were talking about issues in the cities, like society problem. They could experiment, and But for us, it was so different. You know, we were just living in this house, old house with our parents who were artists, and we have few friends, but we were like almost living a very simple life, very connected to the nature. So it came naturally as well when we started to write songs and wanted to talk about things. We were like just talking about what we felt was close to us. And yeah, for sure, for example, I had few issues with my ears because I love the ocean. So I was swimming in the ocean. I had so many problems. So I had few operations, like surgery on my ears because I had so many infections. So it's maybe one of the reasons why I felt so sensitive about it as well, because I just noticed that the ocean were absolutely polluted, you know. It's also part of our education. We had parents who were always constantly saying to us that we are nature as a human, you know, we are part of the nature. So there is no separation between animals, us, nature. It's a whole, it's all thing, you know. We are part of this planet, and we are not only something else, you know. We are nature. So it's also a kind of a spiritual approach we had, even without really talking too much. But it's for us it was like a statement. Of course, if animals suffer, if nature suffer, we are going to suffer, and so it was a logical thing for us, you know.
I mean, that's so interesting.
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead, Lena.
I just wanted to say, I mean, one thing, Mario, that I noticed in your music and Gojira's music is how individual the message is. It's not about talking to kind of people as a large number of anonymous people. If you listen to the music, it feels that it speaks to you as an individual. And this really shines. I mean, even, you know, a line like in Silvera, no other blood in me but mine. I mean, you know, it's such a powerful way to make the listener feel this is about me as an individual human. So it's the shared experience that you're talking about, but very, very individual. I just wanted to ask, is this deliberate? Do you kind of deliberately do this so that you speak directly to the soul of your listeners, or you know, how does this come about, this approach to target people individually, because it really does work?
Yeah, I would say Joe is writing the lyrics, so because Joe is the one who put words, you know, in the music. So, but from my point of view, it's more like we have this sensibility, especially. I mean, the four of us, we are the same. With the common point is we're extremely sensitive, you know. Doesn't mean that we are fragile, but we just have this perception of life with many dimensions. So what I feel is when Joe is writing lyrics, it's always very emotional because he has so many different. He's able to express so many different emotional dimensions, and it's what I like about actually working with my brother, because he's not like a tough guy. He can be tough, but he's also very sensitive, and I liked how subtle is it, you know, when he's expressing an emotion. So and he's also very concerned, and he's also I mean, Joe, I'm talking about you.
Yeah, go on. I'm enjoying this.
And also there is a little bit of despair. I feel that there is a lot of introspection. I feel that you are constantly looking for something about yourself and about life. It's a lot of introspection, and it's very intimate. You know, it's very personal as well.
Yeah, I can add that it's the only thing I can talk for sure. It's how I feel about things, and this idea that the closer I get to my own emotions when I sing, the closer I'll get to the listener, because we are all made of the same material, flesh and bones and soul. And I believe, and I read some books that explain how we are one soul, and we're incarnated in different bodies, but ultimately we are the same. And what compassion is to the ability to understand that the person in front of you has his own world and reasons. And I think it's a very tricky business to talk about others, or to talk about humanity as a whole, without going first through the filter of the self. And I like to be sure what what I sing about when I sing, and sometimes I take risks somehow, exposing myself, like maybe an idea is not that good, or why should we, what is good, what is bad, what is good, what is evil, what is left, what is right, when the planet, in fact, the reality is gravity. So we're all stuck to a ball, and somebody's standing under the planet and on top of the planet, but there's no up and down in space. So good and evil are concepts that we have, and sometimes there's a fine line between good and bad. These are very restrictive notions. It narrows down the possibilities. Sometimes something seems bad, but in fact it's good. Sometimes burning a patch of forest is even a good thing. It's going to look bad because there's flames, but maybe sometimes it's good to clear a bit of forest, for example, for something else to grow. So sometimes when you put yourself out there and you start to have a political statement with lyrics, you could be completely wrong to some people and right to other people. It's a bit tricky, and we have this desire to be, fair in our lyrics and right in a certain way. So the only way is really to talk about. It's like when you have an argument with somebody, you could say, you do this, you do that, you're like this, you're like that, but you could also say, I feel like this when you say that. This is how I feel right now as an information, because I'm right there with myself and I know how I feel about something. So it's a sort of a safer way to talk about the world, to talk about how you feel as a person when you write. This is just on the top of my head right now, I'm saying that. But then it's important also when you put yourself out there and you have something to say it bluntly also. So it's a fine line, to find between, bringing ideas and having an opinion. This album is way more political than Magma was. Magma was more intimate and personal, about grief, about loss, about how we felt, very introspective. This one is more outgoing, and we actually giving an opinion on what's happening on. But I think it's safe to say that we should save the Amazon. I don't think anybody can disagree with that. So we're not going and giving our opinion about political, politicians or specific people, but more like something that is so obvious, like, come on, we need to get together to fix this.
Absolutely, indeed, and I think very well said. It's very difficult to disagree with the principles. Of course it is, but I wonder, in the context of where we are now, we are still in this state of pandemic, and I would never say that there is a benefit from something as catastrophic and as damaging as this horrific virus, which has just laid waste to countries all over the world. But I just wanted to post a bit of a hypothetical to you, because I think, something Mario said stimulated this thought about where you grow up, makes a difference. Just the things that you're exposed to as a child makes a big difference. Do you think one of the problems that perhaps we have in the West is that for a lot of us, until COVID, the news is something that happens to other people. And perhaps for a lot of people in the West, COVID is our first exposure to devastation in our own lives, in that kind of way that is we can't control. And I'm not talking about the kind of losses that everybody experiences, but it's perhaps the kind of first exposure a lot of people have had to just how radically our lives can change when events bigger than us, take control. Do you think that is a dangerous conceit, and that perhaps we can learn something from this experience that we can then apply to how we approach the climate crisis?
Yes, absolutely. I think we are learning. We are learning already. We changed our ways, in in a lot of ways. We are already changing our habits, or we're more conscious of how fragile we are as a species, and we'll see, the result of all that. Our governments, gonna, take some measures. Well, there's something to be said about the pandemics. It's always starting from animals, from eating animals. So I'm just putting it out there. Maybe there's something to learn here. But also, there's something interesting in this context of the pandemic is what's threatened here in our societies, the Western societies, and also in the rest of the world, is the economy, right? We're choking human activity, normal human activity, restaurants and stores, and a lot of people are going bankrupt, and it's terrible. And planes are grounded. But in very quickly, after a few months into the pandemic, some people started to notice, oh shit, there's no more planes, people don't drive around, we pollute less, we spend less. So people are learning something too. They can use their bicycle to do a quick run, because they end up staying around their houses more. So we are discovering a new pace, because it's simply impossible to go to the next city because there's a curfew and this and that. So it raises the question, what is economy, and why the hell do we call it economy? When you look at the root of the word economy, it's in French, it's pretty obvious. Économiser, it means to save, to recycle, to preserve. Économiser de l'eau is to not use all the water. When the term economy in our Western societies means spend as much as possible, keep the wheel turning, don't stop the factories, don't stop the planes. You want to go on a vacation? Great. We're going to sell you a ticket, and you're going to rent a hotel. You're going to sip a cocktail on the beach. Yeah, that's economy. But really, the root of the word economy meaning save. So there's a question, there's a paradox here that we all think about. Our economy is threatened at the very moment where we are forced to economize, because a lot of us are not working anymore. Even us, the whole album cycle got canceled, and we don't know when it's going to start again. So somehow we're more careful how we spend the money that we have on our account right now, because we need to spread it over a time that is we don't know yet. So somehow we are in the real economy right now, because we're economizing. So all these thoughts, I think we should find a new word for economy.
Well, I mean, I have a curious question here, because what you're describing is something that obviously comes across in Fortitude. And you mentioned it in the press statement around the album, saying that we should practice detaching ourselves from everything. And there's a strong anti-consumerist message going on there. But in many ways, what you're talking about now, describing the world we live in as we are right now in the middle of the pandemic, is very much practicing what kind of you, in a way, were talking about in this message against consumerism. I mean, it's a coincidence, obviously, because the pandemic is what forced this change of behavior that you're talking about. Yes. In a way, you kind of saw it coming in many ways. So the question is, when did the idea for Fortitude come about? Because it's been 5 years since the last album, since Magma. When did this come about?
Well, the pandemic has nothing to see with it. I think it's only a result of our ways, communication. We over communicate. We over travel. Some people will live in Paris and they work in New York and they take a plane and back and forth all the time, and so on. So, and the Amazon, is on fire, and it's a freaking mess all over the world. From a certain perspective, there's also an awakening of consciousness. More and more people are conscious of their power when they buy something, and so there's good growing, and there's this how can I say, parasite side of humanity that is on full power right now. And the pandemic is a result of that. People travel so much that it spread, super fast. And the way we treat animals is a big question for me. Also, I don't understand why animals have zero rights. And all these things provoked the pandemic. Somehow it was there before it was there. You know what I mean? And even in science fiction and movies, you often hear, about, either a huge rock destroying the planet from outer space, or a pandemic, or the sun farts and the planet explodes. Like there's all these catastrophic scenarios. This doomsday is very present in our culture nowadays, because everybody's aware that our ways are not sustainable as a humanity. It's not that there's too many people on the planet. I don't think there's plenty of room. If you travel by plane or by train, what you see mostly is empty land, fields and forests. And so I don't think it's a matter of we're too many people on the planet. It's more a matter of how we behave and how we use the resources. And the fossil fuel should stay underground. We shouldn't touch it. We should have understood that a long time ago. We need to develop, clean energies and all that.
And how did the idea for Fortitude then come about in the middle of all this? I mean, obviously all this was happening. When did you first start working on the album?
Because, human rights are threatened. There is, right-wing maniacs taking power all over the world, and indigenous are under attack all over the world. Tibet has been taken by China.
Before the pandemic was the case. I do remember, before the pandemic, when we were working on the album, we found the title. Do you remember? Like we had this conversation about how you need strength in your everyday life to face problems. Could be personal problems, but as well the problem in the society and the complexity of the world. We were talking a lot how much strength you need to just be able to live in this world. And I do remember, Joe, you said, I have this idea. Where Fortitude came from, I don't remember exactly, but it was surrounding by a conversation we had.
It's like you say, it's a lot based on the individual again, and how we feel every day. With Mario, we experienced something crazy when we were writing the album, that we did a lot of it, the two of us. We would meet at the studio and work, because just the way it works between us. We had sessions with the whole band, but very often we would be just Mario and me in the studio. And sometimes it was hard just waking up in the morning, taking care of the kids, taking care of business, go take a bus or like biking through Brooklyn through the traffic, and get to the studio and we're already exhausted. And next thing you know, we need to go to the bathroom and get some food. It looks like nothing, but that's what we all experience in our life. It's hard to get our shit together every single day to stay afloat in a society where, we have an identity, a social security number. We're all like in a box. Where is the person there? What is it that we're supposed to do? Just fit in a box, fit in, take our place in the traffic. And it's hard. And through music, I know that music can be very, very soothing and empowering. And when you're having a bad day, you get in your car, you put your favorite band up and you crank the volume and you feel better. And it's soothing and empowering. And I know that with Mario, we have desire to create something that's going to help us selfishly to feel better. Our music is we're pretty addictive to, creating music and then contemplating it and soaking it in. It's almost like a self remedy that we do. Your grandma's remedy with herbs. That's what we do with our music for ourselves. And we know that if we feel good when we play it and we listen to it, our fans and our extended family, I like to say these days, because it's weird to say fans. We're just like a big family. We want to spread that music to all our friends and supporters, the one that allow us to do what we do today, to empower them and to help them to have a great day instead of a shitty day. So it's also on a very, very intimate, personal level. I know, for instance, that when I'm having a hard time putting my ideas together or facing the day, I'm gonna crank Meshuggah on my headphones, one song, or Mastodon, or or Pantera or Sepultura, one of these bands I love so much. And I feel electricity from my feet to the top of my head, and I feel animated. I just want to jump around, and all of a sudden I'm full of energy, like a battery that is recharged. That's how powerful metal is. And not just metal. It could be anything. It could be reggae. It could be reggaeton. It could be anything, but depending on your sensibility. And Mario and I have this ambition, and the other two guys, of course, to create this battery charger for people, for their everyday lives, and be strong whatever they have to do. Also, not just we don't want to fuel people to do bad things. I imagine somebody who's about to commit murder. I don't want to motivate that person, but also in our music, there's that message that hopefully going to put the people on the right track for what they truly are, what they are meant to achieve in their life. If you're doing the wrong job, I hope that our music is going to help you to think, damn, I'm going to start my own business. I'm going to do this, whatever it is that they have to do. Our listeners, I hope this music will inspire them to make the right decisions in their life and be.
That's probably the American influence as well. The happy ending, because our mother was American.
Yeah.
There is a bit of that as well.
Yeah, it's true. We are very cheesy like that. We want a happy ending for everybody, and for the world, it's almost a decision. It's by default. Even when we feel the most cynical and we think humanity is a freaking parasite and we hate everybody and everything human, beings do, we still want to, come on, we still want to inspire people to do the right thing. Whatever it is, it's not in our hands. We're just here to bring some fuel.
Indeed. Well, something that we picked up on, in the album is a spirit of positivity. Mario, you were mentioning your mother just then, and her attitude and outlook. Is there a greater benefit to making people feel positive that they can make a change as opposed to scaring them? I mean, do you think it's better just to kind of give people the tools to make change as opposed to saying, well, this is a terrifying future and we're all barreling toward it?
I don't know, because as Joe said, at first we do like poetry. For example, I'm addicted to the album Covenant from Morbid Angel, and just because this is so dark, and I feel great when I listen to it. It's a good exorcism. It's an amazing way for me to find a place where I can put my darkness and my anger. So I don't know. It is what it is. I think it's almost like we are not choosing. It's the way we choose, but it's almost like we are like this. It's. I don't even know if it's. I don't want to. What I'm saying right now is. It's amazing that a band like Cannibal Corpse is doing their thing, and I feel it's 100% amazing, But the way we do things is like this. So I don't want to give any advice to anyone. It's just the way we are.
That makes sense. And I wanted, picking up on that in terms of your own personal experiences, Joe, you mentioned animal rights briefly, and, obviously, I wonder if, veganism is a great example of, I don't think it is completely taken the world by hold, but it's in a very different place from where it was 5, even 10 years ago,
Yeah.
where it's become mainstream. I mean, do you think that as it's not just about animal rights, but also about the impact that the meat trade has on the environment because of the amount of land, the amount of water required to produce it, and so on, do you think that the path that veganism has been on, where it's less about resistance, but it's more just about an everyday life choice for many, many people, and increasingly it's becoming more popular, do you think perhaps that
Yeah.
presents a path for the environmental movement where it's increasingly less about protest and more just about people adopting an easy and increasingly accessible life choice?
Yes, there's so much to say about the vegan movement. I think it's not a trend. It's not a hipster thing. It's a real movement. It's questioning our humanity. It's defining what we are as humans and where are our priorities. I wasn't always a vegan, I was raised on meat and fish, and it was totally normal and perfectly fine until I realized that all animal products were a product of violence and injustice. To me, if I really scan into my heart, and speciesism is a big thing. Why we pet a dog and everybody is yelling. If you just raise your voice on your dog in the street, everybody's outraged. But then there's this cow in this dairy farm that is raped, and then the baby is taken away, killed, and then we take the milk that was destined to the calf. And then when there's no more milk, we get that cow pregnant again and take the baby away, and so on and so on. So it's very barbarian, it's very cruel and horrible. So I thought, that was just in some cases it was like that, but turns out it's always like that. Animals, unless you have your grandma that has a little farm and there's a cow there and she's, taking milk sometimes. So I think there's something to understand there. And there was many examples like that of injustice, slavery. Women were not able to vote in France until 1945, the year our dad was born. That's when women had the right to vote in France. It's incredible that it didn't happen before that. And yet, 100 years ago, you would say that, oh, one day women will be able to vote. People will be, are you out of your freaking mind? Slavery, racism, all these things that, okay, we assimilated now that that was wrong. I think the next huge step is going to be about animal rights. So there's a philosophical thing here, and there's also a practical thing. We're hurting sentient beings on a daily basis, and we're slaughtering them to eat their flesh. There's a problem with sustainability. We grow crop and we deforest to grow soybeans, to feed animals, to eat these animals, and when we could eat the plants instead. And it's proven that we can do without animal products. So for me, veganism is only starting, and one day it'll. I don't want to predict things too much, but I think that the day will reach 20% of vegans on the planet, then it's going to go faster from there. And also, there's so much progress made on replacing the meat. For all of us junkies of we're all junkies for hamburgers and hot dogs and stuff. It feels so good to eat junk food, and it's not because I'm a vegan that I don't like junk food anymore. But now I'm starting to find some really good hamburgers, vegan hamburgers and hot dogs and stuff, and milks and butter and cheese even. So we're making a lot of progress there, and makes me extremely happy. And I feel for my fellow animals, because we're also animals, but we behave in a very, very strange way. What other animal is taking over the planet and building factories to kill animals? Anyway, we have to figure out what we are. We're not just part of the animal realm only anymore. We're also part of we're on a league of our own. We're humans. We have this divine dimension that allows us to transcend our condition, and philosophy and art and music and all that is what's beautiful in humans, and compassion. We're able to achieve amazing things, but I feel we're not there yet. It goes along with environmental problems. I think veganism is the best answer to environmental problems. I think it's the number one thing you can do if you want to help the earth.
Yeah, I totally agree. I try to practice what you're talking about as much as I can. And another thing that you mentioned, I mean, I'm vegetarian and lactose intolerant, so in a way, nature already put me on that path.
It's showing you what's up.
Exactly.
I know.
But you spoke of transcendence, and this took me back to your, obviously, music. I mean, I must say I'm a big fan of your music. Your music has kept me sane throughout the pandemic. It was part of my soundtrack. And your music transcends genres. It's very much Gojira. I mean, it's very difficult for me, and I think any fan of yours, to pigeonhole your music under any one genre. And now we have Fortitude, which I'm very much looking forward to listening to when it's when it's out. Question to Mario, what is the message when it comes to the sound that you're trying to disseminate through Fortitude? Just talk us about the music, the sound this time. What do you want us to kind of achieve with this as listeners?
It's a complicated question because, as you know, Gojira is our main band. We don't have side projects. It's our entire life is concentrated on this project, and now we are around the 40s, so we are not 20 years anymore, and we love music, so we have to find this balance. Like, we cannot express just a side of our personality. And as a drummer, it's the same process. It's like the writing process. We did we made songs on the album where the vocals and the guitar were more important than the drumming. So it was a conscious decision from my part to just play simple and to serve the vocals, for example. So in the song, The Chant, for example, it's not about the drumming anymore. And I just wanted to make sure the song can exist with a simple drumming, because I wanted the vocals to be the main thing. It's the same on few choruses, like in the chorus of Into the Storm, Joe is doing something incredible on the vocals, so I wanted just to let the space for him to make the vocals breathe. So I would say that on this album, I had a strong connection with the song structures, and the intention behind the song. But still, I'm a technician drummer, and I love technique. So I told Joe, okay, I don't give you the choice. I want to bring some crazy stuff as well. So, for example, a song like Grind or Into the Storm or Born for One Thing, I did write the drumming first, and then I gave the drums to Joe, and I said, can you do a fucking amazing riff on that? And he said, yeah, of course. So there is a kind of a good balance in this album with two different sides and personalities, I would say.
It's an absolutely fantastic answer, and I think emblematic of just why Gojira's music connects with so many people around the world. It's because it comes from an emotional place and a sincere place, and I think it touches people at a very deep level as well. I guess that's about all the time that we have. But on behalf of everyone at World Metal Congress, everybody watching, just want to say what a privilege it is to have connected with you, to have heard the album. It's out on April 30th worldwide, and Mario and Joe, what an absolute pleasure it's been to connect with you. And we hope that this message connects with a lot of people who are watching tonight, because if anything, the last year has taught us it's an important one, and we need to act now. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
That was wonderful. Thank you. And it's so good to see you again, Alex. And so good talking to both of you. Thank you so much for having
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you. Well, Lena, I have to say, what incredibly inspiring people. And I don't know about you, but I could have gone for hours talking to those guys.
Well, me too. I mean, I already spent hours listening to their music, and now I've realized I could spend hours also listening to them as people. And now I see what you meant in the introduction, saying they're some of your favorite people. I totally agree. It's been one of the richest and most sincere conversations I've had about the environment and about the ethics of just behavior in this world that we're in. And also amazing album that I'm really looking forward to.
Indeed, it is. They're special people. It's a tremendous album. It's been a privilege to hear it before most of the world. It's out on April 30th. And I have to say, Lena, I think it's really emblematic of why World Mental Congress came about in the first place. It's to create a platform for people to talk about things that are important. And on the scale of things, I can't think of a more important issue than this one. So a genuine pleasure to explore it with you. And well, I guess we'll invite everybody to sign up for a newsletter online to find out when future episodes are happening. Get in touch if you are thinking of ways you can support. And as ever, Lena, a pleasure to see you as well.